Welcome to another manga recap. As usual, this video was audio mix for headphones. Use headphones for a better experience. Today's video will be about Ending Maker Part 3. All the information about this manga will be pinned in the comment section. Without further ado, enjoy the video. Also, special thanks to my patrons. The light was so bright that the bicorn was forced to look away. Of course, the fairies suffered the same consequence. Because of this, the monster was not aware of the direction he was walking, and in the end, it ends up falling in one of the traps. By that time, YellowStorm was almost out of the water. She raises her head while coughing. The moment she was able to speak, she starts screaming out his name. Of course, she didn't even need to do that, he was already watching everything. With the sun's necklace in his hand, he was getting ready to engage. And just like that, he takes a step forward. I take it back, it wasn't a step, it was the ability 36 ultimate footwork. By that time, the bicorn was already recovering from falling into the hole. Before Outboxer managed to land his attack, the monster opened his eyes. Outboxer was right in front of him. Thing is, his ability was so fast that the moment the monster blinked, he appeared on top of it. And just like that, he starts chanting the Great Solari blessing. The more he progressed with the blessing, the brighter the necklace became. Even so, he was busy, so he was going to omit the rest of the prayer. Running out of time, he was forced to use Thunderclap with the amount of energy he accumulated with half the prayer. The force of the attack was strong enough for the bicorn to be blown away. After finishing the attack, he falls onto the ground. He thought that this was a sure kill ability, but raising his head, he noticed that he was wrong. The bicorn was roaring in rage. He intentionally targeted the head, but even so, it looked like it won't be easy to knock it out. This was a mid-game boss and there was a level difference between them as well. Smiling a bit, he says that, well, that was a relief. Would Yellow Tempest allow him to defeat this guy alone? Absolutely not, she was already casting magic. She was trying to add fire attribute to magic missile. It was a bit tricky since she was in the water, so she had to cast fire magic. Even so, after a bit, she opens her eyes and then raises her wand. The moment she does that, a bright red magical circle appears around her. Slowly but surely, fire started to gather around her wand. It started as a small sparkle, but soon the spell became a huge fireball. Seeing that, she was ecstatic. It was complicated, but she managed to do it. Without any time to waste, she launches the fire missile. The bicorn was still focusing Outboxer, so it didn't see this one coming. He had time to barely turn around for a second. Because of that, the spell hit it head on. After the impact, a huge explosion of fire covered the monster. Outboxer turns towards her, telling her that she evaporated some of the creek's water. She takes this as a compliment, going like, hoo, I know I'm the best. But of course, that was not meant as a praise. YellowStorm couldn't help but think that if this was a game, she would have fired around 80 fire missiles at the same time. And more importantly, why wasn't their level up announcement appearing? Well, the reason was pretty obvious, they were not done yet. After the fire goes away, the bicorn gets up even more angry than before. Okay then, they should continue with their plan. Usually in this event, they can just chase the bicorn away. But since she already knew those horns effects, she can't just let them go to waste. She was a true loot goblin. Hearing her, Outboxer was like, Roger, and she gets annoyed telling him to not copy her. Nonetheless, the threat was not over, they had to continue fighting. It's true that the bicorn was still standing, but it looked like it was a bit weaker than before. Outboxer was thinking the same thing as me basically. He tells YellowStorm that he will go for any openings he sees. Seriously, he was so ridiculous. When did she even say that he can have the last hit? Well, they are in the same party anyways, aren't they? So what, this was not a reason for her to lose to him. Smiling, she raises her head to look right into the bicorn's eye. She was doing her best to try to provoke the monster. This was not something that the bicorn could miss. It starts screaming, getting ready to attack YellowStorm. 1 second later, the monster starts charging towards her. She was annoyed because she knew that Outboxer would get the last hit. Even so, she knew that this was the only chance. He better get the timing right. And just like that, she starts casting a spell, but this time it was not a combat spell. It was a utility spell, Dig. The moment Outboxer heard this, he knew what she was planning. She quickly follows up with another utility spell called Bind. What happened in that moment was pretty obvious. The bicorn fell into a hole and then got chained up pretty quickly with chains made out of magic. Her combo was successful, but she couldn't hold on a long time. While it was frustrating, she couldn't hold it for long. She knew that this amount of time was more than enough. After a couple of seconds, the chains suddenly break. The monster was way stronger than she anticipated. Because she tried to bind such a strong monster, the consequences were pretty big. She instantly ran out of mana, and because of that, she was punished by losing some health points. Long story short, without even getting hit once, she lost 50% of her HP. She wondered that maybe it was because she used magic consecutively, but because of this, her mana went to 0 and it was so hard to just keep standing. She couldn't believe that she was feeling dizzy because she ran out of mana, seriously. She was so weak that she fell on her knees while the bicorn was charging right at her. Well, the bicorn could charge her with all her might though. But she knew one thing for sure. She already dug holes in advance. This was all part of her plan. While the bicorn was charging at her, she was standing still. Before the monster managed to hit her, it found the hole. And just like that, with one step, the monster submerges into the water. This was a close call, but YellowStorm was sound and safe. Dig was an ability that allows her to change the terrain to control the situation. That was just basic knowledge for a mage. She was all giddy and proud. But even so, her head was in so much pain because of using so much mana. Smiling a bit, she starts speaking to Outboxer. She was going to let him go for the last attack. The sun's necklace was already covered in light. Outboxer was waiting for this moment for a while now. He already knew. In that moment, he started to remember his training. He was in front of his father, who was saying that they will finish up the training. He was glad that he was able to move without any issues, just as Victor had told him. Outboxer was grateful and humble. After all, this was a training with the kingdom's basic swordsmanship. His father tells him that his talent for martial arts was definitely one that was blessed by the heavens. But, of course, there's always a but. All of this was meaningless if his body can't keep up. This was the truth, so rather than being dragged around by the weight of his sword, before he will leave for Langast, he will focus on teaching him 2 things for the next 3 days. While gently touching the training dummy with his bare hand, he starts talking. The first thing will be thunder appeared out of nowhere. The lightning strike for him to use in normal situations. A split of a second after saying that, the training dummy is hit multiple times in the blink of an eye. Outboxer already knew this skill from the game, but seeing it in real life was really impressive. In the time that 1 lightning strikes, he will land 7 strikes on his enemy. As for the second thing that he will be teaching him, it would be quite difficult while he wasn't able to control his ki properly yet. And there was always the downside of being defenseless and not being able to move while he was preparing to use it. This will definitely become a great ability to use against an enemy who's wide open to an attack. This ability will become the decisive strike that will take his enemy down. This was pretty impressive. It was just like his father told him. He takes a step forward and gets ready to engage. In the next second, my guy disappeared from the spot. This time, the bicorn was well aware that something was wrong. The moment it gets out of the water, it opens his eyes and starts looking around. He notices Cordelia and starts looking around for Outboxer. The monster was absolutely sure that that little boy was there before it fell onto the ground. Smirking at it without saying anything, YellowStorm just points towards the sky. And just like the last time, he was above the monster again. Even so, this time it was different. This was going to end the fight. The bicorn has time to barely look up for a second. This was the most powerful technique that he was able to use right now. And that ability was called Lightning Fist. The impact was so strong that it pummeled the monster onto the water once again. YellowStorm was a bit surprised by the shock and started screaming. She was wet all over again. After the impact, both Outboxer and the monster were standing still in the water. The monster starts dangling a bit and then it falls onto the water completely lifeless. Seeing this, YellowStorm was absolutely hyped. They actually managed to defeat it. After a second, they even get multiple notifications. They got so many experience points. Happy as a child, she turns around towards Outboxer asking if he saw this. She leveled up 3 times. My poor guy was completely drained from his stamina. Realizing that he might actually drown like that, she starts running towards him. She manages to drag him on the land. Was he okay? What was wrong? In the midst of a battle, he lost the sun's necklace and he couldn't move. Hearing this, YellowStorm was a bit annoyed. It was that damn 9-inch severed meridians again. She tells him to hold on a bit. She will move him on the land for now. Before she manages to do that, she gets interrupted by the fairies. Both of them were in total shock. They actually defeated the bicorn. But who was that boy? Actually, that was not important. They needed to quickly report back to the queen. And also, the night fun was about to start, so they needed to hurry. It's safe to say that while holding the lifeless body of Outboxer, she was a bit confused. They were going to invite her to the party because she was so pretty. But now that things have turned out like that, they definitely must come with them. They will go and see the queen, all 4 of them. After that encounter, YellowStorm manages to move him onto the ground. And after that, she finds the sun's necklace and places it on his heart. She takes a step back and just looks at him. Thanks to the sun's necklace, it seemed like his body temperature has returned to normal. Also, wouldn't it have been better for him to just wear the swimsuit if he was going to get drenched? Hearing that, he laughs a bit. In that moment, YellowStorm started smiling. Come to think of it, this was the perfect situation for her to use her trump magic. She slowly starts to raise her wand towards Outboxer. And there it was, the heal magic that she practiced so hard in those 3 days. He didn't know that she learned healing magic, so of course he was a bit surprised. So, how do you feel, Mr. Customer? His tensed muscles were relaxing and it felt like his bones have been realigned. He really felt way much better now. Most likely, if he could rest for 3 more minutes, they could safely depart after that. Roger, the fairies were waiting for them, so they'll just rest for 3 minutes and go. Realizing what big of a help she was, he smiles at her and thanks her for being there. She never admitted it, but we know that Yuda Bale was supposed to be very handsome. And because of this, she didn't know how to reply. What the hell was that? Why was he suddenly triggering her maternal instincts to protect her? What do you mean maternal instincts? He was like, huh? What? It was nothing, just rest up. After that exchange, she returns to the fairies. She tells them that they would like to rest a bit more. What happened? Is the boy alright? Well, he just needed to rest a little bit longer, that was all. He said that he was feeling much better. It was probably because he used his internal energy to defeat that bicorn. So, cold energy filled his whole body. It seemed like it will take a bit more for him to recover. The fairies were looking at her like they were not understanding what she was talking about. Even though he defeated the bicorn, he was kinda weak. Yep, but he was a handsome weak. The fairies were shamelessly talking between them without realizing that Cordelia can hear everything. In that moment, YellowStorm realized that she didn't ask for their name. The fairies introduced themselves as Adele and Amel? Okay. What were their names? Well, she was Cordelia and that boy was Yuda. Cordelia? No, just Cordelia. The blonde fairy wants to ask Cordelia something. Okay, what is it? Why was she wearing clothes while bathing? Laughing a bit, she says that they were not normal clothes, it was just a swimsuit. Her clothes were somewhere else. In that moment, she realized something. Wait a minute. Her clothes. She forgot about her clothes. Right. She starts panicking, going like, oh fuck, wait a minute, I totally forgot about my clothes. Pause. Hearing that, Outboxer jokingly says that she can't pause since they're not really in a game. This is what Cordelia said in the previous chapter. Hearing that, she yells at him, telling him to not trigger her. In any case, before they go and visit the queen, she really needs to go and change her clothes back to the normal ones. And after that encounter, they left to see the fairy queen. A portal appeared out of nowhere and transported the both of them. Cordelia was the one to take the first step into the fairyland. They got transported into some kind of magical forest. This was still a forest, but it looked like a totally different setting. Smiling at them, the fairy with green hair was leading the way. And just like that, they started walking in an unknown direction. The moment she saw how beautiful this place was, she was left speechless. Suddenly, the sun was so bright and leaves were blowing everywhere. They were able to see and smell countless different flowers in the same time. The surrounding scenery was so fascinating. And even more, every time they walked, the surroundings were changing. YellowStorm was absolutely fascinated, but Outboxer was like, I have no idea what kind of construct I'm walking through. An existence that's everywhere but also nowhere. Seeing their reaction, the fairies started laughing. They better follow them closely so they don't lose their way. Fairies who cross the walls of dimension and space all the time. They are so rarely seen that they are like existences within fables to humans. Both him and YellowStorm have seen them in the game time to time. They knew they exist, but it would be hard for anyone to believe in them when they just appear and disappear at a whim. Now that he was thinking about it, they only appeared in Cordelia's storyline within the game as well. He might be making a fuss over nothing, but this was a rare appearance. An evil grin appeared on his face. He could make good use of this. If you watch until this point, come on, subscribe. YellowStorm notices that the path ahead was getting more narrow. It looked like a corridor, but it didn't look that long. A bit later, she manages to see a fancy door. She laughs a bit, saying that she will go first. Someone was waiting for them smiling. They must be the children that Adele was talking about. Hearing the sudden voice, Outboxer raises his head a bit surprised. Both of them stop and looks towards something that looked like a throne. And for now, the throne was empty. A split of a second later, she appears in front of them. Again, they must be the human children that Adele was talking about. Without further ado, welcome human children. Welcome in this wholesome fall. The fall, Fairy Queen Rolila welcomes you both. Back in the camp, nobody was next to the fire anymore. They were walking and walking and walking, searching for the two of them. In that moment, Dahlia notices something unusual. While she was scouting the forest, she hurried back because she heard an explosion on the other side of the camp. Nobody was sleeping, everyone in the camp was awake. Upon seeing that empty tent, it seemed like they crossed the river during this peaceful night. The knight was really apologetic, he didn't intend to fall asleep, he wasn't even sleepy. He really didn't know what happened. He drank the tea that young Master Yuda gave him and he became so sleepy. She looks towards the empty can and quickly grabs it. She raises it close to her nose and starts smelling. This was the medicinal herb that Count Chase would brew every time young Lady Cordelia couldn't fall asleep. For young Master Yuda to give this tea to him instead of Lady Cordelia. Okay, instead of waiting for them to return, they better split and go and fight them. If her guess was correct, she understood that they wanted to spend some time alone together. But this escapade was the work of both of them. This was just a bit too much. Back to the Fairy Queen, Outboxer was bowing to her, politely greeting her. Of course, YellowStorm didn't have the tact to do it herself, but after seeing this, she greets the Queen as well. It has been quite a while since she saw human children, but their manners were quite good. Adele had a good eye. So, their names were Yuda and Cordelia, correct? While Cordelia was confirming, Outboxer notices something weird. Now that he was thinking about it, when did they disappear? Adele and Amel have gone to the banquet hall. When both of them stepped foot in that place, they used the time split that occurred to come and inform her about the two of them first. For them, who can freely move through space, time was not a forbidden domain. Hearing this, both of them were left speechless. It was the same setting that came out of the game. Smiling, the queen says that biker had been the center of their troubles. Since they slayed it together, there was no way that she wouldn't give them a reward. Of course, hearing that, Cordelia was in bliss. And of course, Outboxer was thinking the most obvious thing. This was going as planned. Originally, this was an automatic event that wouldn't need manipulation on the premise that Cordelia chased away the bicorn that has terrorized the fairies. And of course, she'd get invited to the Queen's night party. The things that changed from the original scenario was that he participated with Cordelia, and then they also slayed the bicorn instead of chasing it away. Since the result of the battle changed, he predicted that an additional reward for completing the event was likely. But since she said you both, that should indicate that she will give out 2 rewards, right? He was really looking forward to it. What exactly can that fairy give him? A fairy stone? Maybe a fairy's whisper? But the thing that they needed the most right now was the divine moonlight staff. If they can get it, then he didn't care about other rewards. The fairy was already analyzing this, a mage and a martial artist. Flicking her fingers, she says that this will do perfect. A second after that, 2 bright green lights appear to their right and to their left. From one of the lights, something that resembled 3 branches started to appear. This was a divine moonlight staff that has absorbed the moonlight over 100 years in that place. Man, I don't know who's more beautiful, the staff or Cordelia. And this is Fairy's footsteps, which has actually made for another tribe, but they weren't able to find a suitable owner for it all this time. Outboxer raises his hand and slowly catches the ring. As these items are out of the ordinary, instead of them collecting dust in a place like that, it would be better to give these to those who are deemed kind-hearted. He was silent, he wasn't saying anything. Fairy's footsteps. Hearing this, he was terrified. Fairy's footsteps is an A rank item that allows the owner to leap through space up to 3 times a day. Although it was an item difficult to utilize properly given the premise of the game, the best way that users have found to use this item was a complete evasion. This allowed the user to dodge an attack the moment it was about to reach. With that, there was no need to evade attacks anymore. It was an item that allows you to evade attacks without even moving. Cordelia was silent as well. Once you realize what was capable of, the daily limit barely works as a restriction. And yet, they would give him this as a reward? Forget about not needing other rewards, he was good with this. Happy as a child, he thanks the Fairy Queen. He turns to Cordelia, asking her what was she doing, thank her as well. Cordelia was annoyed. She better stop pouting, they were in the same party, she got the moonlight staff that she needed, right? I mean, she did, but that was a B rank item and his was an A rank item. What was wrong with her pouting, huh? He could already feel that she was angry that he got something better than her. The Fairy Queen laughs a bit, saying that there was a reason why she gave them the following rewards. It was because she was a magician and he was a martial artist, right? Looking to the ceiling and thinking a bit, the Fairy Queen says that, well, that's not the only reason. Hearing that, both of them looked a bit confused. Seeing their reaction, she starts smiling. It just happens that she prefers handsome men over beautiful women. Bro, what? And just like that, after that encounter, they were back to the waterfall. Both of them looked exhausted. It was actually the river. That was the worst. They never get tired and kept pestering her to play with them. And even more, they constantly asked her to sing a song. Well, the fairies did mention that the banquet hall had a different flow of time, so there should be nothing to worry about. But he never thought that they would have to stay at the banquet hall for 12 hours. Even if only a dozen seconds have passed in reality, 12 hours was something else. She sang Twinkle Twinkle Little Star more than 40 times. If this was a game, they would have played the narration saying that time went by and move on to the next section. Now that they have to do it themselves, this wasn't something that humans should have to experience. She jumps hugging and both of them start crying. This was finally over. It was over. Oh yeah, by the way, the bicorn was doing fine. Also, what about the bicorn's horns? Since it doesn't drop like in the game, how should they carve it off? Well, they can't just leave it, it was such a useful item. Although it was going to be nasty, they have to do it. Compared to only getting one horn or not getting one at all, it was obviously better for them to try. Being loot goblins as usual, each of them calls dibs on one of the horns. She laughs a bit, thinking that they got the Moonlight Staff, 2 bicorn horns and the fairy's footsteps. She had a feeling that things were going to get well for them. What, doesn't he feel like they can do anything? Well, sorry to ruin the mood. He knew that it was hard for her, but remembered that it was worse for him. She was well aware of that, but don't he dare try and tell her that he's too tired and needs another piggyback ride. No, that's not it. About retrieving the bicorn's horns. Why don't they ask the escort knights if they can help them with it? This was the towel that they casted the light spell on. He was sure that the explosion would have woken them up. He notices that Cordelia was trembling. After a while, she starts talking with him. She looked really scared. About them. Does he think that they were going to be in trouble? Back in the fairyland, the fairies were talking with the fairy queen. Did she think that it was okay to give them both the Moonlight Staff and the fairy's footsteps? She never could have thought that a human would appear that she would deem worthy of the fairy's footsteps. Yuda was a nice kid, he was also good looking. But there was always a chance that a great power like that might change a person. She knew that they had great fun with them, so why were they so worried about them now? The moment she saw those children, there was a scene that flashed before her eyes. Within the gap of time, there was something she saw, something that she couldn't explain herself. Oh my god, look at them all grown up, holy. I think she saw their future, I'm not sure. There was one thing that she was certain of. She tells Adele and Emil that there was nothing to worry about. She was certain the moment she saw them. The fate of those children does not end with them alone. It will follow the fate of this world. Fairy's footsteps, 4 stars. Divine Moonlight Staff, 3 stars. They were now back at the camp. Dahlia was angry. Did she understand what exactly she did wrong? Cordelia was being scolded and she was just looking at the ground without saying anything. They were already traveling down an unplanned path and they were worried what exactly might come out of the woods. And yet they decide to head for the river without a single escort. What would they have done if something happened to them? Seeing how angry she was, Cordelia tries to apologize. Dahlia interrupts her, saying that during the 3 days it takes to arrive to Langast, as the escort knight of Cordelia Chase, the youngest daughter of Count Chase, she cannot allow the two of them to be exposed to any further danger. Until they arrive at Langast, they will be prohibited from exiting the carriage. Come on, she knew that she was angry, but even if it may be cramped, she was sure that she will understand, right? Since she's made time just for the two of them, enjoy. And just like that, they resume their traveling once again. The next day, as ordered, they were inside the carriage. Outboxer was feeling sick, no surprise here. After waking up, he notices that YellowStorm was there with a bucket of water in her hands. She heard that he was down with a cold. Was he alright? Well, he was not feeling the best, but he was alright. And come to think of it, what did Dahlia say? Was she mad on her? She gave her a good scolding. She says that they are forbidden from leaving the carriage. Really? Well, they probably don't need to go out on their way to Langast. This was a rather good ending. A bit quiet, she agrees with him. It looked like she really got scolded badly. Not only she was sulking, her antennas look withered. Antennas, oh, her hair, okay, that's so cute. The reason she got scolded so harshly was because Dahlia was most likely more worried than angry. But even so, still, what will she do if Dahlia starts to hate her now? She really doubted that that will happen. Since they were in the wrong, it was better to show that they were repenting by not getting in trouble. If they apologize after she sees that, she will probably accept it. After all, she was just like a sister to her, not just a caretaker. She takes a second to reply, but then she realizes that he was probably right. Of course, they better be prepared for another round of scolding. Well, it was alright since she was at fault. Also, she won't be the only one getting scolded. He will probably get scolded as well. After saying that, she takes a seat onto the ground next to him. She tells him to lie down cause she will wipe his sweat for him. He was like, hey, how could a noble's daughter sit on the floor? Come on, the floor is comfortable, I do that as well. So what, everyone just sits on the floor instead of the sofa when they watch TV on Earth as well. Well, he was too weak to talk back, so he decides to just lean back. She prepares the cloth by dipping it into the water in order to put it on his forehead. After that, as she said, she starts wiping his sweat. How does that feel? Does it feel cool? Customer, how's the water temperature? It was great, it's just like paradise. While chit-chatting with him, she laughs a bit, saying that he can't even keep his eyes open. And of course, he was slowly falling asleep. Smiling, she tells him to get some sleep, she will watch after him. It will be another 3 days before they reach Langast anyways. They should talk about how to deal with the demon's hand after he gets better. Again, he was out of energy, he didn't even have the strength to reply. Just before he falls asleep, he starts speaking. He calls out to Cordelia and she turns around. With his last breath, he thanks her and falls asleep with a smile on his face. Seeing this, she started blushing a bit. She couldn't help but think that she should be the one thanking him though. She's like, just get better quick then, and throws the wet towel on his face. After a while, the convoy was doing some steady progress. They traveled over a bridge and then through a forest until the night arrived again. And just like that, 3 days later. While holding some piece of paper in her hand, Cordelia was saying that this was crazy. Does he go around conning others in reality? Such a con artist. Come on, that was so harsh. So what did she think? Would their plan proceed smoothly? He was totally recovered. Yes, it was way too perfect, that's why she called him a con artist. What is with that look? He thanks her for the compliment. She was in disbelief, it was really the same, this was really fascinating. How was it so similar to her father's writing? Right in that moment, somebody knocks at their window. The knight was pointing towards something in front of them. What, was he asking them to look in front? Cordelia was the first to notice it. It was Langast. They arrived to the destination. This was amazing, she could see it from all the way over there. Langast symbol, the knight statue. It looked so big and it was even more imposing than it was in the game. Both of them say in the same time that they thought they could hear the BGM while looking at it. BGM is background music. They look at each other for a second and then both of them start singing the song in the same time. I am shipping them so hard, you have no idea. After a second, both of them burst into laugh looking at each other. As expected of a game freak to think that they would hum the same part. Hey, that's what she wanted to say. This was the city of commerce, Langast, with Mangre Hresvol's Count family in the center. It was a city north of the Celion kingdom. This city was being governed by the 12 northern families. They don't belong to any families as a territory. And the city of a start where Yuda and Cordelia's main scenario begins. The setting of this part seemed to be exactly the same as in the game. Outboxer was standing next to Maya and people were walking around them everywhere. They take a step and then they notice the place where they will be sleeping. What was this? Didn't Cornelia just stay in the accommodations in the original story? What on earth was with this luxurious mansion? his thinking gets interrupted by Maya, who is carrying the luggage. Well, long story short, Count Chase has arranged for this vacation home for young master and young miss to have a comfortable rest. And since the two of them are only engaged to each other, he has requested for their rooms to be separate on level 1 and 2. I see. He was so darn considerate and detailed. We love Arthur. In that moment, he noticed something that he really wanted to see. Cordelia was in front of Dahlia and was apologizing once again. In the end, Dahlia gives up and opens her arms. Without wasting any second, Cordelia jumps towards her and hugs her. It looked like they made up, huh? He turns towards Maya, telling her that he has a place that he needs to visit. Could he bring his luggage in? Maya instantly agrees. The knight that was hitting on Maya was waving at her, saying that he will help her. But he gets interrupted by Outboxer, who says, "All the escort knights, please follow me." A bit disappointed, he says, "Yes, young master." Excluding Dahlia, the rest of the Count's Chase family knight, please follow me as well. They seemed a bit confused, including them? Yes, his father told him that once they reach Langas safely, there was something that he will need all their help with. All of this needed to be done before the social gathering began. But of course, all of this was a lie. On the other side, Cordelia was just walking with Dahlia. As expected of a city of commerce, the shopping district was packed with people. Dahlia was like, "Let me see, the magic store is like, we need to take a left on that alley." She was right. How did she find it so quickly? She stumbles her words, saying that she studied the map a lot. Yeah, that was the reason. She knew since she went there a fuck ton a lot in the game. So anyways, she was probably tired since she had to be on guard duty. Also, she was probably exhausted because all of the things that they've been doing. She could lift her while doing a full lap around Langast. She had nothing to worry about. So, what was the thing that she needed to buy so urgently at the store? Well, she didn't have any particular item in mind, but she wanted to go and look. Also, she had someone she definitely needed to meet. Someone she needed to meet? In Langast? Yup, they're stuck in the workshop at night, so they can only meet in the... What she was saying was that since she can only meet them during the day, she can't postpone this. She really couldn't wait to go see them. 15 minutes before arriving to Langast. Obviously, she should know this as well. But in the main event in Langast, it will be infinitely more difficult than their previous battle against the Bicorn. And although their power has increased thanks to getting those unexpected items, they won't be able to win with their strength alone. Well, yeah, they were supposed to lose this fight. That's right, and in order to make sure that won't happen, he was thinking of selling his father and her father. Huh? Selling their fathers? What? She starts screaming, but he quickly calms her down, telling her to not scream out of nowhere. It was not a weird plan, just listen to him. She notices that he was handing her some kind of papers. This was a forged official document he wrote while mimicking her father's handwriting. They will use this to gather the magicians of Langast. I have received information that the enemies of the Sail Room Kingdom, the demon worshippers, will be launching a surprise attack during the social gathering of the 12 clans. I invoke the name of the Tower Master, Arthur Chase, to call upon the aid of the magicians of the Crimson Dawn Tower. As long as they have that document, the magicians from the Crimson Dawn Tower will have no choice but to help them. He didn't just copy his handwriting, he even copied the way he talked. He prepared so well to the point that this was a bit creepy. Well, she was wondering what kind of an insane plan he would propose. So, they were selling her father, who was the tower's master of the Crimson Dawn. All of this in order to get help from the magicians. Correct. And also, one more thing. Since the magicians are part of the elite society, even if the Tower Master's daughter asks them directly, they will still need at least this much of a compensation. She looks at the money thinking for a second. Okay then, she will try go and scout the magicians in Langast. What was he selling his father for? Well, she knows how his father went on that expedition, right? Well, Earl Bale clashed against a group of demon worshippers during his last expedition. And when he checked the bag of one of the demon's worshippers, he found a type of a secret coded message. After decoding the message, they found out where the demon worshippers would next meet. and that meeting point was located at a specific place in Langast. He was going to take the forged document with that story to the Knight's Order in Langast. His father has his reputation, and if his son personally visits them, the Knight's Order will have no choice but to believe him. And of course, the location specified in the document will be correct since he will be the one personally marking it. And he was sure that it was right because he played the game before. So they'll be using the NPCs in order to increase their power. And through the Knight's Order, they will be able to cut quite a few of them down. That was right, this method only worked because he was Yudar Bale and she was Cornelia Chase. And also because it was reality and not a game. She takes a second to take all this information in. An evil smile appears on her face. Not bad, right? Now then, it was time to drag in some people from outside the event. Blue Lion Knight Order headquarters. He was wondering why he, the commander, needed to immediately check what was in that letter. But for it to say that the demon worshippers were hiding in Langast, he did not expect that. There truly was nothing more urgent than this. Barwa, Sail Rune Kingdom's Blue Lion Knight. Hearing that, the knights were a bit confused. Demon worshippers, did he hear that right? It looked like there were some secret orders from the Earl. Because of the contest, he told him to deliver this letter personally. He also told him that they need to burn it once they are done reading it. The truth was that they can't leave any evidence of his forgery. Okay then, let's do that. He confirmed the contents of the letter that Earl Bale has sent. With the remaining knights in the branch, they will move as soon as possible towards the hideout of the demon worshippers. In that moment, he raises his hand. This may sound a bit immature and out of the blue, but could he and his guards tag along? Hearing his request, the silence covered the room. He can allow his guards, but from what he knows, he was not healthy. Well, that was true, considering that he's been stuck at home because of his sickness. He would usually not ask for something like this. But this is the first time when his father entrusted something to him. This is why he wished to be part of it until the end. Also, this will be a good chance for him to see with his own eyes why his father holds the Blue Lion Knight Order in such high regard. Does Earl Bale really hold them in high regard? Really? Absolutely. Aside from his father, Earl Chase also said this. This will be a good experience for the young knights. They both believe that the young knights will be okay since Commander Barlia is very skilled. He was shameless. In the end, they fold, saying that they will allow him to accompany them. 30 minutes later, first branch of the Demon Hand. Somebody called the commander out saying that they found something. They found this in a chest in the corner of the room. It looked like it was something important. Seeing this, the commander was astonished. The document contained the locations of the other meeting points in Langast, as well as information about their most important members. But in reality, we already know that the secret author was Yudar Bale. The name of the group of demon worshippers hiding in Langast is Demon Hand. And even more, now they know the other 6 meeting points. The plan was to head back to headquarters and hold a strategy meeting. 12:40 PM. They had to split up into 6 groups. Now it was time to show them what the Blue Lion Knights are made of. 6:25 PM. One of the key individuals of Demon Hand, Baron Edgar, has escaped. The order was to find him and search everywhere. Slowly but surely, they took down enemies one by one. 11:45 PM. Cordelia was exhausted. Her legs were in so much pain. She can barely feel her legs because of all the running around she did looking for all the magicians in Langast. If only she could send an announcement to meet up just like in the game. Well, if she was that tired. She gently pokes out Boxer. There was no response. It was just the corpse. In total, she convinced 4 magicians. And since the boss of this Demon Hand incident uses ice magic, she recruited Ronin, the best flame magician, first. She also heard that the knights on his side found 7 Demon Hand bases. And of course, they absolutely destroyed them. Was that true? Yep, the 7 bases from the game were all sorted out now. The Blue Lion Knight's Orders commander respects his father a lot now, thanks to him knowing that beforehand it all worked out. In the setting for the story there were 12 bases, right? Sadly, she was right, but at least they cut over half of them. Aside from the Blue Lion Knights, the Guard Knights now also know the threat, so for now they should just be satisfied with this. Alright then, it was time to get to the next step on the plan. He probably already had something ready, right? Well, kinda, they just need to set something up at the social gathering hall. The most important thing will need to be done on the day of the party. Most important thing? What was he talking about? He looks a second at her without saying anything. The target of the demon hand. Protecting the two important people in the scenario is the most important thing. The one they were aiming for are Cordelia and that other guy. Lucas... something. A book was lying on the couch next to him. I take it back, it was not a couch, they were inside the carriage. It's safe to assume that this gentleman is Lucas. Just how was this even possible? 7 bases raided in one single night. Bayron Edar, rich person of Langest, a long-time supporter of the Demon Hand. Do they know how much money he spent to plant all of them there? The minions were trying to apologize, they were currently trying to identify the cause. Slamming the table, he says that even if they do manage to identify the cause, it was already too late. Those blue lions could already know the locations of the remaining bases as well. The social gathering was right in front of them, how can they proceed with a plan when things are like this? Out of nowhere, somebody from behind him says that it doesn't matter. The Baron slowly turns around. Sir Minos, a man who accepted a demon in his body in order to become half human, half demon. The old guy tries to explain that their forces have been basically cut in half. Minos wasn't having any of it. According to the report, Cordelia Chase has arrived in Langest. Was that true? It was correct. Lucas, the other target, will be in Langest tomorrow as well. Then there won't be any changes to the plan. In 2 days, they will capture one of them and then they will summon a demon into this kingdom. Despite the fact that a few things have changed, they will still proceed according to the plan. Noonday of the social gathering. Both Mia and Dahlia were all giddy. And with this last detail, everything was done. Outboxer was all dressed up and ready to party. Damn! and Cordelia was looking as elegant as she could. It was really fun dressing them up when the clothes are good. Mia was in total work satisfaction. In that moment, Dahlia notices that they were a bit late. The plan was for them to head out first in order to prepare for the departure, so don't worry, take your time. Agreed, they will follow soon enough. Look at them being chibi, that's so nice. After they leave, they take a look at each other and smile. In that moment, Cordelia starts walking towards the mirror. She was in bliss. As expected, Cordelia was so pretty. Outboxer is like, sheesh, what a narcissist. What, doesn't he think that she was pretty as well? As expected of the best waifu in Legend of Heroes 2. Cordelia was the best. It's not like he didn't agree, he said that because she suddenly talked in the third person. Raising his hand towards her, he starts talking. Anyways, since it was an important day, they should stay a bit more focused. What was he doing? She doesn't have anything to give him. He was not looking to get anything either, he was just escorting her. She takes a second to process what she just heard and then she reacts in proper YellowStorm fashion. That was a bit cringe. What, does she think that he was not cringing? Dahlia and Maya were still waiting for them at the cage, so she better just hold it already. And just like that, they arrived at the social gathering. It was easy to think that this event was just a small event due to the name, but in reality it was a huge event that focuses on the children of the 12 northern clans. As the event is pretty big, a lot of people attend. People with power in Langest, famous people and high society. And of course, people who want to form a connection with the 12 clans all attend to this annual event. Because of this, depending on if you're invited or not, your evaluation in high society may change. That's how much sway the gathering has. It also shows how important it is. While walking next to Cordelia, Outboxer starts talking. She remembers the plan, right? Of course, protect Lucas from the demon hand. No matter how strong they are, it will be impossible for them to wreak havoc with just half their forces. That was right, but people were already gossiping around them. That girl was Earl Chase's daughter, and the one next to her is that her fiancé, the youngest son of Earl Bale. But wait, wasn't he called the Earl's Trouble? He looked completely fine. What was going on? Did he recover from his illness? Also, both of them were more beautiful than the rumor said. And of course, they suit each other. Both Outboxer and YellowStorm were dying inside. There were too many eyes on them, focusing only on the plan was hard. What the hell, this was so bothersome. Without having enough time to finish her thought, she notices someone. A girl calls out her name and asks her if she's been doing well. A gorgeous girl with blue eyes and blue hair slowly approaches them. It has been a while since she talked with Cordelia. This girl's name was Sylvia. She was the female figurehead of the Crossvale family known for their wealth. And the cute and shy girl that was hiding behind her was called Viola. She was the youngest daughter of the Lange Viscount family. Also, she had a fear of meeting new people. Seeing them, Cordelia starts to happily wave at them. Of course, she's been doing well. It was so good to see her. She also starts talking to Viola. Why was she hiding behind her? She better come out. Stumbling her words, Viola says that it's nice to see her again. Sylvia was so glad that she was doing well. But who was the person next to her? He bows down saying that he was Yuda Bale of the Count Bale family. It was an honor to meet them. Of course, seeing him, YellowStorm was dying inside. Sylvia was all smiles. The pleasure was all hers. She was wondering what the fiancé of Cordelia was like, but to think that she will finally be able to meet him. Outboxer was calm and collected. Sylvia was supposed to be considered a beauty on par with Cordelia. While he made sure that he wouldn't get seduced by her looks, he really doesn't feel anything about her. It kind of feels like just meeting a celebrity or something. But the rumors were not wrong, she was gorgeous. Right as he was thinking that, he notices YellowStorm. She was happily chatting with the shy girl. In that moment, hearing what the girl said, she started laughing. It was clear as day to him now. He was wondering why he could handle Sylvia. The reason must be that he got used to seeing Cordelia. In that moment, someone interrupts them. Cordelia stops chatting as well. A young gentleman approached them and was not saying anything. The guy slowly raises his hand in order to greet them. He was Lucas from the hosting Count Hellsberg family. He wanted to personally thank them for attending the social gathering. Lucas, leading family of the 12 families, expected successor of the Count Hellsberg family. Although he did manage to greet them first, he could tell from his eyes that he had no other interests in them. He introduces himself as Yuda Bale from the Count Bale family. And just like that, they shake hands. This guy was leading the family of the 12 Northern families. He was the genius child of the Hellsberg family. Not only was he interested in the idea of becoming stronger, he even enjoys training itself as a hobby. And depending on if the person he is interacting with is strong or not, he will gain or lose interest in them. He couldn't even hide his immense disappointment. It was just a bad habit he has yet to change. If Lucas had the same personality as he did in game, since Yuda has been rumored to not be able to train in martial arts due to his physical capabilities, he will view him as a person that has no need to give respect to. Lucas wanted to stop the handshake, but Outboxer didn't. Of course, this applied only if he was the same person as in the game. Lucas was a bit confused. Yuda Bale, Cordelia Chase, and Lucas Hellsberg. Those three people had one thing in common, which was that they were playable characters in Legend of Heroes 2. Among the characters, two of them, Yuda and Cordelia, were hinted to supposedly have memories of their past lives. A random image with Cordelia, I don't know how to narrate it, but she's too cute to not put it here. However, he wondered if that was true for Lucas as well. For example, what if the third highest ranker in the server was reborn as him? Before the demon hand attacked the gathering, he will need to confirm himself. At that point, Lucas was really confused. This was the longest handshake he ever did, without beating around the bush. In the easiest and direct method, he approaches Lucas in a serious tone and asks him, "Hey, you too?" Lucas just stared at him a bit confused. It looked like he had no clue of what Outboxer was talking about. He quickly coughs, saying that he's been saying nonsense. His 9 severed meridians haven't fully healed yet. He was so sorry to show that side of him. Well, of course, no, it was a serious illness. He hoped that he will be able to recover soon. He thanks him for understanding. He will need to greet the others, so he will take his leave. Cordelia saw all of this happening. She quickly starts to approach Outboxer. He grabs him by the hand. That was so embarrassing. Shut up! He already knew how embarrassing this was, and he was blushing and looking in the ground. Well, that was hilarious, but hey, now they made some progress. Lucas doesn't have any memories of their world, does he? He said, "Shut up." Although Cordelia was right that they made progress, he was not sure that he should feel relieved or nervous. Unlike how he first met Yellow Tempest at the Blades, he doesn't really sense anything special about him. And seeing how Lucas reacted to what he said, it was fairly certain that he doesn't have any memories of the previous world. If someone like Lucas had memories of playing Legends of Heroes 2, it would have been such a big help in solving the upcoming Demon's Hand event. It was such a shame that he didn't. Even then, if they found other reborn rankers, there was no way of knowing what they were thinking, or if they will cooperate with them, since they already changed a lot from the original plot. It might be better if they have less factors to worry about. Anyways, she totally forgot Lucas was a playable character as well. It would have been better if Lucas was the reborn 3rd place ranker though. The truth was that she never liked Lucas at all. Really? Why was that? It was because her favorite character will always be Cordelia. Since she was trying to clear the game with all the characters, she had no choice but to play him. But after seeing the story, she hated playing as Lucas. He should know as well. In Lucas' story, after Cordelia gets kidnapped by the demon's hand, oh my god, she turns into a demon and becomes your enemy. Oh my god, look at her. That was all? Well, that can be helped since Lucas is the main character in the story. If you play as Cordelia, it was Lucas that gets abducted by the demon hand and becomes Demon King. The event has the same basic outline, but depending on the character that you're playing, the abductee changes. She was well aware of that. In other routes, both of them get brainwashed and they are sacrificed. But the thing was that in both routes, they become enemies with each other. Does he have any idea how many people get game overed by Lucas the Demon King? That's why there were a lot of people who don't like Lucas, because their favorite character was Cordelia. Doesn't he get it? She has a grudge against him. A grudge. Alright. And also, there's a personal reason. There was another reason? She remembered his alt account. She was going around wearing super cute clothes. Thinking about it made her head explode. Also, all of the items were paid, but she didn't really care about that. Thinking about it, Outboxer agreed that it was a relief that Romanticate wasn't there. If they were there, he was afraid of what Lucas would be right now. YellowStorm agreed. In that moment, Cordelia notices someone and starts waving at them. It was Ronin, the flame magician she went to persuade at the Crimson Tower. But it was her first time seeing the two people that were with him. After a second, she actually remembered that he said that he will bring other magicians as well. Since she met other 3 outside, the total number of magicians coming to the social gathering from the Crimson Dawn Tower was now 6. On top of that, including the knights sent by Sir Baruda and the guards of the 12 clans, they had over 30 people attending. So, compared to the original story, the security was pretty tight. What should they do now? Should they just wait until those guys break in? Well, pretty much, although the timing will be a problem. If they consider their previous situation with the bicorn, there was no guarantee that they will attack at the same time in the same place. So the best thing was to stay on their guard. They will go and greet other people while being close to Lucas as well. Roger that. She was also thinking that it was just about time she went and dealt with that bastard. That bastard who was having some funny business with Sylvia. He was wondering who was making Lady Sylvia have such a soulless expression. His name was Felix Duran. And just like Outboxer said, Sylvia was looking dead inside. She does know that Felix was the oldest child among the children of the 12 clans, right? Irrelevant, she would still win against that punk. Win what? Better not fight. Huh? Why not? Was he scared? In the end, Outboxer gives up. She could just do as she pleases. After she left, he takes a second to recover. Sometimes she was so hard to deal with. Aside from Lucas and Cordelia, the children of the 12 clans won't impact the event even if they die. But since it was like this, they should try and save them all. So for now, the only thing he could do was watch and stay on guard. Cordelia was already attacking the guy pestering Sylvia. Look at her not even being able to control her expression. If she was so transparent. Well, in the end, he liked that openly bored expression better. A sourful expression like the one Cordelia had in the game was not a pleasant one. That sour expression didn't match her at all. A second later, the orchestra starts singing. The music suddenly changed. It looked like it was dance time. The demon hand still hasn't. Tragedy. He realized that everyone was staring at them. This was unexpected. He didn't know how to react. Cordelia starts talking with him. His guardian was going somewhere kinda urgently. Why was she calling her his guardian? Her name was Maya. What was going on? She suddenly got Dahlia with her. Both Dahlia and Maya were watching them with stars sparkling in their eyes. They were in danger. And it was not the danger they expected. Everyone in the room was watching them, waiting. Those gazes, it was not just him being crazy, right? Fuck, it was obvious. It was understandable that they would stand out. The attendees of the social gathering are young children and most of them naturally have some ideas about dating. And unlike the other people who were at most just friends, the dance of Yuda and Cordelia, it was a thing that was expected by everyone. After all, it was a dance between fiancés. Putting on his gloves, he realized that this couldn't be helped. He turns towards Cordelia and starts talking with her. Will she give him the honor of dancing with her? Her first words were, "You I mean, of course. But as usual, she was dying inside. And just like that, they start to slowly walk towards the people. Outboxer was gently holding her hand. Again, in classic YellowStorm fashion, she was like, this is so cringe. But he knew how to dance, right? Why was she asking? She already knew the talent of Yuder Bale. While grabbing her by the waist, he says that he is good at everything that uses his body. Giggity. A bit flustered, she says that of course she knows. She got a bit surprised by his sudden pull. After a second, she notices something interesting. Were Yuder's shoulders always this broad? Also, his weight was a bit... He notices that she was basically staring at her. He asks her if anything happened and she replies saying that it was nothing. Really? Okay, then sure. And just like that, it was time to dance. Before they have time to do that, a huge explosion occurs in the middle of the building. With a pure reflex, he hugs Cordelia trying to protect her. This was happening, the demon hand was finally attacking. 1 second later, everybody started screaming. Multiple demon worshippers appeared out of nowhere. One of them was slowly walking through the smoke. Cordelia was the first to notice him. He had silver hair and matching silver earrings. He was standing right in front of Lucas, who was defending Sylvia. He finally found Lucas. Okay, so here we are at the end of the episode. Again, I can't express how much I like this series and I will 100% continue it. The next video that I will upload will probably be part 4 of the same series. The plan is to continue with part 4 and maybe part 5 until I have enough chapters out to do part 6 of Pick Me Up. Of course, if you watched until this point, maybe hit that like button, subscribe, it will help the channel. That's it for now, see you next time.